this meeting to order. Can we all please stand for Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Culpepper.
Present.
Dr. Denson is excused this evening. Mr. Griffiths.
Here.
Mr. Huntington.
Present.
Mr. Martin.
Present.
Ms. Mia.
Present.
And Mr. Willis.
Here.
Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum to conduct business this evening.
Okay, thank you. Can I have a motion for approval of the agenda, please?
I would move for a motion of approval of minutes dated this date, June 26, 2019.
Second.
Okay, moved by Commissioner Willis, second by Commissioner Mia. All in favor?
Aye.
All right. Are there any announcements and communications, Mr. Spence?
There aren't any at the moment. What I would like to do, if we may, before we move on, would be to get the clipboard from the back of the room, please.
Okay. Okay, I'd like to make a statement here. The Southfield Planning Commission is a 7-board member board appointed by the mayor with approval by the city council that acts as an advisory capacity to this council to make recommendations on text amendments to the Southfield zoning ordinance, rezoning requests, special land uses, site plan reviews, the Southfield master plan, and capital improvement plan. All study meetings and regular meetings are open to the public in accordance with the Open Meeting Act, PA 267 of 1976, and are held on Wednesday evenings at 6:30. Meeting agendas are posted the Friday evening before the next Wednesday meeting and are available for viewing at cityofsouthfield.com. Copies of plans, text amendments, the master plan, and the capital improvement plan are available for viewing at the planning department offices, and current projects can be viewed using our online interactive tool on the planning department's homepage, Planning Department Projects Online. Contact Planning Department at 248-796-4150. Again, 248-796-4150 with questions Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. First on the agenda, we have public comment. If there's anyone in the public here who would like to make a comment of anything that's relevant to this planning commission here, you'll have 3 minutes to speak.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman. No one has signed up for public comment on the sheet in the back.
Okay.
So we can just move on to the next
Okay.
item.
I'd like to take this time to open the public hearing. First on the agenda is PSLU 18-0007.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman. We do have a number of items here that are on the agenda that actually staff is going to be seeking postponement on.
Okay.
A number of these items just weren't ready to come before you for the month of June, so we would like at least go through the process of postponing these to next month. So if I can go through these one at a time, that way if there's anyone here from the public for any of these items, then they will know to come back in July. The first one is the item that you just noted, PSLU 18-0007. This is the special use request for the property on the corner of 8 Mile and Lasser Road, northwest corner. I did finally receive some plans from them. I did send them back for some revisions, so they are not ready. Basically, I could request postponement to a date certain, being July, but I don't know if they'll be ready. It took almost a month for me to get plans back. So I kind of leave it up to the commission as to whether you'd like to postpone to no date certain. instead of kind of leaving it hanging out there and continue to come back to you asking for a postponement.
Okay,
So that would be the first item.
okay.
To the chair,
Commissioner Culpepper.
I so move that PSLU 18-0007 be postponed until a date certain.
Second.
If I may, through the chair, to a date certain or to a date not certain?
I'm sorry, to a date.
To a date not certain, since we don't know if that information will be into you by July. To a date not certain, and we'll
Okay,
establish that
uncertain.
later once the
Okay,
planning department let us know. Thank you.
Second.
okay. It's moved by Commissioner Culpepper, seconded by Commissioner Mia. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, so that will be postponed to a date uncertain.
Okay, thank you. Next item, PZR 19-0004. This is the rezoning request of Andrew Moiseev for a rezoning request on the corner of Northwestern Highway, 10 Mile Road. Staff would like to request a postponement to your next meeting, which would be July 31st.
To the chair.
Commissioner Mia.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that we postpone to a date certain PZR 19-0004, date certain of July 31st.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, so it's been moved by Commissioner Mia, seconded by Commissioner Culpepper, to the date of July 21st. All in favor?
If I may, through the chair, July 31st.
31st, okay,
July
sorry about
31st.
that.
That's what I said.
To July 31st. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, so that moves on to the postponement of July 31st.
Next item, PSLU 19-0006. This is a special use request for residential structures to be used for non-residential purposes on 12 Mile Road in Glasgow. Staff, again, is requesting a postponement to a date certain, that being July 31st.
To the chair.
Commissioner Mia.
Yes, I'd like to make a motion that we postpone PSLU 19-0006 to a date certain, which is July 31st, 2019.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Commissioner Mia, seconded by Commissioner Culpepper to July 31st. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so that moves forward to July 31st.
Mr. Chairman, on your second page, under site plans, PSP 18-0009, again, this is the property, 22,000 West 8 Mile Road. Again, staff would recommend, since on the special use portion, you recommended postponement to no date certain, would recommend the same for PSP 18-0009.
Mr. Chairman,
Commissioner Martin.
I'd like to make a motion that we delay to a date not certain PSP 18-0009.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Commissioner Martin, seconded by Commissioner Mia. Postpone to a date uncertain. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so that moves forward to a date uncertain.
PSP 19-0004, again, this is the site plan for the properties on 10 Mile and Northwestern. Staff requests postponement to a date certain, that being your July 31st meeting.
Okay.
To the chair.
Commissioner Mia.
I'd like to make a motion that we postpone PSP 19-0004 to a date certain, July 31st, 2019.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Commissioner Mia, seconded by Commissioner Culpepper. Postpone to July 31st. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Okay, we move forward to July 31st on that item.
And finally, PSP 19-0005, the site plan review request for the properties on 12 Mile Road in Glasgow. Staff is recommending postponement to a date certain, that being your July 31st meeting.
You have a motion?
I would move that we move PSLU 19-0005 to a date certain, that being July 31st.
Okay, thank you.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Commissioner Willis, seconded by Commissioner Mia. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so that will be moved forward to July 31st.
Okay, so if I may, through the chair, to the public, if there was anyone here for any of those particular items, they will be coming back for study meeting on July 10th, and then to the regular meeting on July 31st. Now, getting back to the public hearings that we have before you. So the first public hearing this evening, PSLU 19-0003. This is the special use request of Integrity Building Group to allow for the construction of a 1,761 gross square foot addition to the existing Marthoma Church and expand the existing parking lots. Property is located 24480, 24518 Lasser Road. The properties themselves, you can see on the screens, on the east side of Lasser Road, just south of 10 Mile Road, is basically directly across the street from our fire station headquarters. This is a blow-up view of the property. The church itself is on the property to the north, and there's an existing house vacant on the property directly to the south. The church does own both properties, and their proposal would be, if I may, OS office service on the north, residential on the south. This is a copy of the proposed administrative site plan. So they're looking to expand the church. You can see that expansion under phase 1 at the top of the slide on the right-hand side. Because of the expansion of the church, it did require more parking to be established on site. You can see from, and I'll go back to the aerial, that basically they are parked out for the existing site as it stands today. So they were looking, because they did own the property to the south, of expanding the parking lot to the south onto the residential property. That's indicated, as you can see, on phase 1 at the bottom of the slide. That necessitated the need for special land use. In residential, we do allow religious uses. However, it is a special land use within the single-family residential zoning district. So that is why the petitioner is here before you this evening. It's not for approval of the expansion of the building for the square footage. It's not for the approval of the parking as it's shown on the site plan. Basically, the Planning Commission is here this evening to say yay or nay to allowing the special land use to continue within the residential zoning portion. Close-up of the proposal for the expansion. You can see what the expansion is looking like. I'm showing you this just because it is part of an administrative review, but we thought it would at least be good for the Planning Commission to see what the proposal was. So this is the proposed addition looking north, proposed addition looking south, and then straight on. So that is the proposal that's before you this evening, special land use to allow expansion of the parking area into the residential zoning for religious type use. I do see the petitioner is here in force this evening, so I would at least like to give them an opportunity to explain the project further.
Okay, can you please come forward to the microphone, please, and state your name and address for the record?
I'm Thompson David. I'm living in Livonia, 31787 Clarita Street, Livonia, Michigan. Just want to say I want to thank you for this opportunity. We moved to Southfield in 2000. That's the time we bought the property and we added the church in the existing form. And then in 2010, when the property next to our church came available, we bought that property. And then, so now, since the parish has grown, we wanted to get additional parking. We had a little more bigger plan, but right now our finance don't allow us to do more additional buildings, but we have a plan for that in the future. But right now we are asking to expanding our sanctuary area to accommodate a few more, about 7 pews, about 130 folks to sit inside, and then we are going to add additional parking that you see it on the plan out there.
Okay. This is a public hearing. If anybody from the public would like to speak on this matter, you can step forward. You have 3 minutes to speak.
Hello, thank you. My name is Brian Walker.
Okay.
I'm a resident just to the east of the church at 24565 Lois Lane here in Southfield. And I did send in a letter to the planning committee as well. My only concern with the property is that I have had a drainage issue in my backyard since the construction of the original property. And I've worked with Lee Schultz in the engineering department to try to resolve that. I think she's worked directly with members of the church to come up with a solution, but we've been unsuccessful in getting something that's mutually agreeable. And so my request is simply to have some part of the plan as it goes forward account for allowing the water that before the construction of this property was able to naturally drain to the west to have some path. Right now, the rear of my property, especially in a rainy season as we had this spring with the snow melt and then the water from the rain on top of that, there's enough rain that a family of ducks regularly lives there. I put on waders to take my pump out back and to pump the water in some direction. So I'm just looking for some solution to this issue so that I can go back to having full use of my backyard. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, and your concerns will be noted. Anyone else?
Mr. Chair, can I ask a
Okay.
gentleman a question?
Yes, yes. Can you step back forward, please? We have a question for you. Commissioner Martin?
You said you are to the east of the church grounds.
Correct.
On the north end, south end, what I'm looking at is that in the drawing, the top right where it says Phase 1?
Yes.
Are you closer to that area?
Yes,
or-
I am close to phase one.
Okay.
Correct.
Reason being for construction, wondering if there's possibility of a drainage solution in that, but if they're not really doing any construction there, that kind of makes it kind of a moot point on that.
True. I think my point has been that in the past, in trying to work, through the engineering department, there was a solution proposed to hook up to their catch basin, I think is the right term, and there was not leverage, there was not willingness on the church to partake in that offer from the city to do that free of charge to the church or to myself to correct the issue, and there was no ability to apply leverage to enforce it. So from talking to Lee Schultz continually over the years, she mentioned that this was coming up and this was a potential time to bring a resolution to that and to be able to have the leverage necessary in the approval phase to include this in the plan.
Okay.
All right.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else from the public, please? Okay, I declare the public portion closed.
If I may, through the chair, I do have a letter, and I was going to read it into the record, but now that Mr. Walker is here, I will at least make it part of the packet.
Okay, thank you. Commissioners, any questions, concerns about this project relating to special land use?
To the chair.
Commissioner Culpepper.
When this first came before us in our study session, I said that I was grateful and thankful that the church had decided to do something for their parishioners by allowing them to have additional parking, which I think is admirable. This issue that's come up tonight about water draining, and I would assume he's directing this drainage from your property onto his property, is something that I think this commission wasn't aware of, nor was the planning department, because we'd have brought this up at one of our meetings. So I guess I have a few questions, but first of all, let me say that I approve of the special land use based on the 7 factors that's listed in our special land use. You do meet all of the qualifications. The proper use of this property is in size and character and harmony with the appropriate order, because you already have a church, you're just doing the space. The location and size and intensity won't hurt. The proposed use is in accordance with the spirit and chapter of the church, and it does not do any harm or detriment to the area. So you do meet the standards of the special land use, so on that basis, I am for it. But I do have some questions, and I guess we would, to Jeff, about if you have gone to the department about possibility of water going into your area based on what we approve here. I would like some clarification on what we plan on doing about that. Thank you, Chair.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
If I may, through the chair. So the original plan, the site plan for the original church was done as a straight permitted use in OS office service. So walls were required to be installed in accordance with the zoning ordinance. Screen walls required along the property lines. As part of that, the church themselves cannot drain water onto adjacent properties, which meant that it had to be sloped in a way in which there would be no drainage onto the residential properties, north, south, east, west, any property. It does sound like there has been some reach out to the church, and maybe it's a question to the church as to whether or not they might be willing to continue to look at the possibility of working with this property owner to try and resolve that issue. But from this particular project before you this evening, this area that they're seeking special use for is considerably farther south and really had nothing to do with the original project. But, I mean, again, personally, I think it'd be nice to be able to work together between the property owner and the church to see if they could resolve it.
Thank you, Jeff.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Commissioner Culpepper. Anyone else?
Yes.
Commissioner Mia.
Through the chair. I think it makes sense to allow the site plan to go through, or the special use, due that the property is there and they need the extra space for parking. I think it makes sense, but could you please work with, before we can approve it, I hope that there's some type of resolution, as Commissioner Culpepper says. I hope there's some type of resolution where you can work with the neighbor so that there's no water drainage on this property before this goes through. Please, if you can work together on this, that would be great, but I think this makes sense.
Okay. I just want to say, too, I think I'm in agreement with Commissioner Culpepper and Commissioner Mia. I think it does fit in well with the special land use standards. It doesn't create any problems for us because of location, size, intensity, or periods of operation. So I think it's a good project for the location. The church is doing well now. It's good to see you guys growing and trying to do better. And, we're behind you. Do I have a motion? Oh, let me take the recommendation from the Planning Commission
Yes,
first.
thank you.
Planning Department.
With regard to PSLU 19-0003, the Planning Department does recommend favorable recommendation of the special use request of Integrity Building Group to allow for the expansion of parking related to religious use onto residentially zoned property located 24480 and 24518 Lasser Road for the following reasons and conditions. Subject to approval of PSAP 19-0019 for the new church and parking lot expansion, submitted special use with any conditions recommended by the Planning Department and the Planning Commission will be of such size and character it will be in harmony with the appropriate and orderly development of the R2 single-family residential zoning district. Location, size, intensity, and periods of operation of the proposed use is designed to eliminate any possible nuisance likely to emanate therefrom, which might be adverse to the occupants of nearby permitted uses. Permitted use is in accord with the spirit and purpose of the chapter. It is not inconsistent with or contrary to the objectives sought to be accomplished by this chapter and principles of sound planning. Proposed use is of such character and vehicular traffic generated will not have an adverse effect or be detrimental to the surrounding land uses or adjacent thoroughfare. Proposed uses of such character and intensity and arranged on the site so as to eliminate any adverse effects from noise, dust, glare, odor, or fumes. Proposed use will not be adverse to the promotion of the health, safety, and welfare of the community, and the proposed use is designed and operated so as to provide safety and security to employees and the general public. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Do you have a motion, please? Mr. Martin?
Chair, I'd like to make a motion that PSLU 19-0003 special use request be approved.
Second.
Okay, I have a motion for favorable consideration from Commissioner Martin, seconded by Commissioner Mia. All in favor?
Aye.
Through the chair.
Question? Okay, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry, through the chair, there's going to be one abstention. I was not at the study session and do not have enough information, so I will abstain from this vote.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Willis will abstain from it.
To the chair?
Okay, Commissioner Culpepper.
Jeff, this is just a question, again, as you said, we do approve of it. Is it in our scope, don't want to make this a condition, is it in our scope to ask that the church do get in contact with the neighbor and try to work as well you can? You're not obligated, committed to do anything based on what we see here, but in the good spirit of being a good neighbor, it's just a suggestion that you would talk to your neighbor and work out whatever you can based on what we see. Just being a good neighbor. It's not a condition of the approval or anything, but it's just a suggestion. Thank you, Chair. Thanks, Chair.
Okay, so this item moves forward. Okay, it passes. Thank you. Good luck to you. Next on the agenda, we have PSLU 19-0005.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. This particular item, I can cruise through those. So PSLU 19-0005 is a special use request of Michael Eisman for the property located 21348 Telegraph Road. The property is located on the east side of Telegraph between 8 and 9 Mile Road. The proposed special use is to allow the use of the existing building for general or professional office use not related to an industrial or manufacturing operation. Generally, what that means, he wants to use it for straight office use, not related to a stamping plant or any other kind of use like that, just general office use on the property only. This is a blow-up of the property itself. See a relatively small property. It's a two-story office building facing Telegraph Road, and then there is a garage/shed on the east side of the property as well. Directly to the south of the property, and you can see the blue represents the property line. There is another driveway. Let me kind of go out a little bit. You can see another driveway or property directly to the south. That is a driveway that does help to serve the property in question. They do have an easement on that property. I do have copies of that as well. So there is no issue with cross-access across the properties there. This particular property has been used as straight office for a lot of years. It's been a construction office. They haven't done any manufacturing on the property, but they have had a construction business on the property that did have equipment and house other materials on the inside of the garage directly to the east. So technically it's been used for the use in which they're going before the Planning Commission this evening, just for straight office. It just did not have a special land use attached to it all these years. Existing conditions of the property. It is industrially zoned. Technology corridor sub-area for Telegraph Road. This isn't the most recent site plan. I got that today, but it's quite similar to what's on the screen here. Again, what the Planning Commission is looking to do this evening is just approve the special land use portion. We will handle the site plan administratively. Within the I-1 Industrial District, the council does not have site plan review authority and approval. that is left with staff. So staff is currently reviewing the administrative site plan on this. So this represents the plan that they have submitted to us with the pedestrian connections, the bike racks, the parking, the dumpster enclosures, and so on. Elevations of the building. They would like to, I know, get working on the building as soon as possible. They've been trying to make amends to the property and make it look nice already. There are some things that they just can't do, however, until they actually get all of their approvals from the city council. But this is a rendering of what they hope the building to look like once it's finished. And these are the side elevations on the north and on the south. So I do know that the petitioner is here, and I'd like to give him an opportunity at least to explain his project, and then we can go from there.
Okay, can I please have the petitioner step forward, please, and state your name and address for the record. Give us a brief overview of your project.
Good evening, Commissioners. My name is Michael Eisman. I live at 26021 Marlowe Place in Oak Park. My partner...
Michael Pitters. I live in Chesterfield, Hagen Road.
The building at 21348 Telegraph, as I mentioned last time I stood before you, was originally built as offices by a construction company called Fairway Construction. The last couple of years it sat vacant because of the difficulties that are related to its zoning and people's inability to move in. We operate and manage apartment complexes in the city of Detroit. We specialize in rehabbing and repositioning troubled properties, and most of our properties are on the Telegraph corridor, and we were looking for an office space just outside the city which would allow us to have our staff come in and work and to be able to access the properties, for us to be able to have bankers and mortgage companies come and visit us. And we were looking for a property that we could be proud of and make appropriate for our needs. We only need about 1,500 square feet. The building's about 8,000 square feet. Our intention is to immediately improve the exterior of the building. The landscaping over the years has become jungle-like. The exterior of the building is suffering, and this will be our world headquarters or our headquarters, and we want to take pride in the building and do what it takes to bring it back to what it looked like, many years ago. And we're asking for the special use in that regard.
Okay. Thank you. This is a public hearing. If there's anyone from the public that would like to speak, the public hearing is open. Seeing none, I close the public hearing and would like to speak to the commissioners. Commissioner Mia.
Looking at your plans here, I really like the renderings. The building is aesthetically pleasing. I think it will enhance the area. Thank you for picking up the building and trying to help beautify the city of Southfield. Thank you.
Commissioner Griffiths.
Yeah, I have no problem with an office use in an industrial district. It's less intense than any industrial use, and all the improvements you're doing make look nice. It's going to make a lot of sense. I almost wish this process could be handled administratively. I say this every time someone buys a building and realizes there's more steps to go through for approval. So sounds like you're doing the right thing now, and I'm in favor of approving this project and streamlining this same event in the future for other future investors in this area.
Okay.
To the chair.
Commissioner Culpepper.
Mike, as I said in the study meeting, thank you for taking a building that has historically been vacant and deciding to do something with it, which would be, as I agree with Mr. Griffin said, having that office building in the area, I think will enhance it, because what you have already gone on them to do is to make it a better area. You do meet all of the special land use standards, and I think you even exceeded them. And like Jeff said, the administrative stuff they can handle, and I hope going forward that Griffin and I keep pushing to get a lot of this stuff to come to us to get rid of some of this red tape and have them to do it administrative. Because I understand that you definitely want to start doing something to that building, and Like Mr. Mia said, I like the elevation, I like what you're doing to it. I think you're going to be a showcase there, so you have my blessing. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I'm also in favor of the special use request, although it's not related to industrial or manufacturing operations. However, the proposed use of change is not adverse to the promotion of health, safety, or the welfare of the community. So, you meet all the special land use standards, and I think it'll be great for the city what you're doing. So, good luck to you. Do we have a recommendation from the city planner?
Yes, thank you. With regard to PSLU 19-0005, the special use request of Michael Eisman, the planning department does recommend favorable consideration of the proposal to use the existing building for general professional office, not related to an industrial manufacturing operation, property located 21348 Telegraph Road, for the reasons and conditions as follows. Subject to approval of PSAP 19-0026 for improvements to the site. Submitted special use with the conditions recommended by the Planning Department and the Planning Commission will be of such size and character that will be in harmony with the appropriate and orderly development of the I-1 Industrial District. Location, size, intensity, and periods of operation of the proposed use is designed to eliminate any possible nuisance likely to emanate therefrom, which might be adverse to the occupants of any nearby permitted uses. Proposed use is in accord with the spirit and purpose of the chapter and is not inconsistent with nor contrary to the objectives sought to be accomplished by this chapter and principles of sound planning. Proposed uses of such character and vehicular traffic generated will not have an adverse effect or be detrimental to the surrounding land uses or adjacent thoroughfares. Proposed uses of such character and intensity and arranged on the site so as to eliminate any adverse effects resulting from noise, dust, dirt, glare, odor, or fumes. Proposed use will not be adverse to the promotion of health, safety, and welfare of the community, and the proposed use is designed and operated so as to provide security and safety to employees and the general public. Thank you.
Okay. Commissioners, can I have a motion, please?
To the chair.
Mr. Griffiths.
I'd like to move for a favorable recommendation of PSLU 19-0005.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved by Commissioner Griffiths, seconded by Commissioner Mia. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, so it moves,
Through the chair.
passes.
Please forgive me, one abstention for the same reason stated before. Was not at the prior meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, again, Mr. Willis is not voting on this issue.
That's correct.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so it moves forward. Thank you. Good luck to you.
Good luck, Mike. Good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the agenda, we have PZT A19-0001.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So this is a zoning ordinance text amendment related to sexually oriented businesses in the city. As you recall, we've been kind of working on this for some time. It was generated as a result of a request for a particular use in the city, and we felt it necessary to move forward, to put together guidelines and regulations for these types of businesses within the city. I will say that we actually already within the zoning ordinance in Article 4, which is our general provisions in Section 5.50, we do already have some regulations as they relate to adult retail stores, adult motion picture theaters, and cabaret controls. So those are the only items that we allowed within the zoning ordinance within the city. They were subject to just B3 and I-1 industrial zones only, so general business and I-1 only. Because they were in the general provisions section, Article 4, Most people probably didn't even know it was even there. When you look at the B3 general business and the I1 industrial, these particular uses aren't even mentioned as permitted or special uses within the district. So what we are looking to do with these particular regulations is to move the information from Article 4 to the B3 general business and the I1 industrial under each one of those, noting that these particular uses are allowed as special uses within those districts. That cleans it up. That way when someone goes to the B3 or the I1, they can see that those are special uses within that particular district instead of looking in the general provisions. We are also looking to amend the definitions based upon new licensing requirements that the city attorney is working on. So there are various definitions in Article 2, that is in your packets as well this evening, that deal with the various definitions of adult arcades, what an adult booth is, adult cabaret, an adult motel. So these various definitions will be added to our Article 2 throughout. The reason we're doing that is to make it apportion and link up with the licensing requirements. There are some terms like what a person is or what an establishment is or what an operator is that we needed to define because the licensing ordinance would state those particular uses or those particular people within the licensing ordinance itself. So we wanted to make sure that we covered all the bases with regard to the types of uses, sexual-oriented businesses, as well as employees, establishments, and so on. Under the section S, we do deal with sexual encounter centers. And the definition is there as to what a sexual encounter center is. I won't go through all the entire definition, but basically what we are looking to do is actually prohibit that particular use within the city entirely. We will allow certain uses, but this one in particular we felt that we would like to prohibit from the city entirely. So that is noted within the definition that that use is permitted in all, or is prohibited in all zoning districts of the city. Going back to that section general provisions of 5.50, we're going to change the title of that particular section from the adult retail store and so on to sexual-oriented businesses, and then add purpose and intent, add sections on findings, in this case adverse secondary effects to those types of uses, area requirements, in this case 1,000-foot minimum setbacks from residential districts, regulated adult uses, schools, churches, child care facilities, and parks. We would also look at regulating distance from any pawn shop, alternative financial institution, medical marijuana facility, or other sexually oriented business to 1,500 feet. Parking requirements would be as set up by Article 4, Section 5.30, which is our off-street parking requirements. And we would also deal with signage that would have to be posted that basically states that persons under the age of 18 are not permitted, and that no alcoholic beverages would be permitted as well. So again, what we're looking to do is to, again, regulate these particular businesses in B3 general business and I1 industrial, and as I had noted earlier, kind of move that section from the general provisions over to B3 and I1.
Okay. Okay, thank you. This is a public hearing. If there's anyone from the public that would like to speak, please come forward. Seeing none, I declare the public hearing closed and would like to bring it to the commissioners. Any questions, concerns, commissioners?
Question.
Commissioner Martin.
In the information we were initially given, I'd like to go to the classified uses, section C, where it breaks down the business subject controls, classified use. at the end of the list, it has SDB. What is SDB? That's the section where it has adult carried, adult bookstore, adult booth, novelty store, video, cabaret, motel, motion picture theater, that information. That was in the document.
In that case, that was the sex doll brothel. Sex doll brothel.
Okay, oh, brother, okay.
Okay.
And that is basically included under the section that I said would be prohibited.
Yeah.
We would not allow those types of uses within the city at all.
Okay, you all set?
No, I've got a ton of questions.
Okay.
I'm sorry. In the section prohibited against children and sexual-oriented businesses, it's, mine's a little bit out of order from the way it was presented, because I had to convert from Adobe to Word. It's after establishment. The prohibition against children and sexual-oriented businesses. It shall be unlawful for any person to knowingly allow a person under the age of 18 on the premise for any sexual-oriented business. I assume that that's considering the age of majority for Michigan, and that is set so that it's in compliance with the state of Michigan.
That is a question that I would have to ask the city attorney.
Okay. And in the other area, it talks about prohibition against alcohol and sexually oriented businesses.
Mm-hmm.
Is that something that is against the state of Michigan? Because in Gentlemen's Club, you can have alcohol. So that's a sexual, so here again, we come up with, are we doing something that's contrary to what the state of Michigan allows? Going back to the licensing, oh, I'm sorry, not the licensing fee. Investigation, after the city clerk has received a completed application that should be forwarded to the following city departments for review and investigation. That's the police department, the fire department, building, and planning. In the, basically, I would call the preamble to the ordinance, it talks about public health, but there's no public health inspection included in any of the information. So they go through so much detail talking about the health and welfare of the citizens, but they don't have any public health inspection included. So that seems to be an omission that they need to include in there. And during they talk about inspection of the premises, the business. It talks about being able to inspect the facility during business hours, city business hours. But I believe the police, fire, and public health need to be able to inspect it at any time, unannounced, so that they know what's going on, not only during the business hours of the city, but after hours, because you know, if you don't expect anyone to come in from 9 to 5, it's easy to change what you're doing at 6. And that gap needs to be filled.
Okay.
In the application,
No, that's why we're doing
Yeah.
this, so.
in the application, individual applicants It asks about a concise statement of, as the individual's applicant's past employment, where the applicant has whether the applicant has been convicted or is awaiting trial on pending charges in violation of federal, state, or local law involving moral turpitude, dishonesty, fraud, violence, Well, in another section, it talks about within the past 5 years since the date of conviction or from confinement, whichever is the later, but it skips it in the investigation and in the application requirements. He used to have to review things in detail for the president, so read between the lines. And I think, yeah. Commercial establishment. Any business location or place which conducts or allows to be conducted on its premises any activity for commercial gain. But in one area, it talks about broadcasting information on a cable system. Well, any hotel or motel that has a cable hookup is going to be able to stream information that would be considered sex-oriented business. So this isn't giving any consideration to that, or it's not specifying, because, you know, if you have a cable-related system, you could stream X-rated movies in, and would that be considered something that needs to be looked at or clarified? And you thought I didn't talk, didn't you?
Take your time.
Okay. I believe I covered all my points with that. Yes. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, Commissioner Martin. Good information. Okay.
I might not do it before the meeting, but I do read what we get.
Okay. Commissioner Martin. Commissioner Willis.
Just one question,
Okay,
and I am kind of picking this up today. It says it shall be unlawful. Are we looking at punishing this under criminal code or a civil code? Unlawful, punishable by 90 days in jail is way different than unlawful by subject to a fine of $5,000. Criminal could be both. So just curious.
Yeah,
And
if I may, through the chair, there has not been a discussion with the city attorney as to, you know, which way we would go on, or which way they would go on that.
okay,
Excuse me. It does say $500 fine and up to 90 days in jail.
that'd be criminal. Okay, any subject to jail would make it criminal. And just to respond to one comment you made, all governments are responsible for the public health, safety, and welfare of its citizens. So whether it's implicit or directly laid out in statute, it still becomes like the generic responsibility. So the very first job of government is health, safety, and welfare of its citizens. Okay, so.
Okay. I understand.
Okay,
All set?
I'm all set.
Okay, thank
Through
you.
the chair.
Thank you. Commissioner Culpepper.
Thank you. Jeff, I'm 100% in accordance with this zoning ordinance. Again, some of us was here back when this originally was spoken about some years ago. So I'll repeat myself, is that I'm ecstatic how the planning department is proactive in seeing stuff that may come to us and putting things in place that we can regulate. So to my knowledge, there's nothing that said that these brethrens or brothels or whatever will happen, but in case it does, I like the idea we will have something on the books and it will be regulated. So again, I can't say enough about the vision that the planning department has and the being so proactive in making sure if something comes into the city, however it is, we will designate where you go and what you do. So again, I'm 100% in favor of this. And thank you, Mr. Martin, for going through, reading some of the things that maybe need to get cleared up. But like I said, I'm not sure about, a lot of stuff not looked at that I think the attorney needs to look at and clarify exactly what's going to be done. So this is a rough draft, but I like being proactive and letting people know, once you come into this city, you know, we're going to have rules and regulations that you will follow. So again, kudos to the planning department. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Mia.
I concur with Commissioner Culpepper. I'm very happy to see that the Planning Commission is proactive instead of reactive and waiting for something to occur before they decide to even look at the situation and put things in place. So I appreciate the proactivity as opposed to being reactive.
Okay. Commissioner Martin.
I agree. I'm happy to see that the city is taking the effort to try and put something in order for this. I do have one concern in that basically, like in the purpose and findings for it, they go through a lot of information, and they're talking about the information and studies that were done in the 60s and the 70s and 80s. Well, times have changed, and they need to decide if some of the information that's from those days, 60s, 70s, and 80s, has changed to the studies that they've done in the 90s and the 2000s, and omit the old stuff and leave in the new stuff, and or specify what has changed in it, because they've got, we don't know how, we know times have changed and morals have changed somewhat, but we don't know if the information that they're presenting in their purpose and findings is actually conforming or contradicting what they're stating in all the other things. Because, you know, you look at something they have from 1968 versus something they have in a study from 2012, are they consistent, or have there been enough changes? And that was all. But here again, I do agree that it is nice to know that we are doing proactive work, not reactive. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Martin? You know, I think as morals continue to decline, more people will take advantage of the profit potential of these sexual-oriented services. And it's important that our planning department and zoning departments regulate these type of businesses to protect and to preserve the health, safety, and welfare of the patrons of the business and also the citizens in the community. Commissioner Martin did bring up some very valid points, and I think we need to really, you know, pay attention to and maybe, you know, really make some corrections to. At this, I consider this as a rough draft. Changes will be necessary. I'm assuming we're ready to move forward on it. But I think it's still work to be done.
Yeah, if I may, through the chair, I appreciate that Mr. Martin did go through that with a fine-tooth comb, and do appreciate the comments that he made. I'd be happy to add a condition here to this, that basically this is subject to the clarification of regulations as noted by the Planning Commission by the City Attorney as we move forward, if that satisfies the Commission.
That would definitely
We will
help.
seek answers to the questions that have been asked and the items pointed out.
Just as a point of information, the document that I couldn't print today that has all this information in it. It's highlighted in red, so it's easier to pick out in order of what we initially got.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, can we have the recommendation from the planning department?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. So the Planning Department, with regard to PZTA 19-0001, does recommend favorable consideration of the draft dated 6/26/19 for the following reasons. Proposed text amendment will amend Title V, Zoning and Planning, Chapter 45, Zoning of the Code of the City of Southfield by amending Article 4, General Requirements, and add a new section entitled Sexually Oriented Businesses and other amendments as needed. Text amendments specifically address definitions, prohibited conduct, prohibitions related to children and alcohol, licensing requirements, locations, hours of operation, area requirements, and other revisions that may be necessary for the city of Southfield as they relate to sexually oriented businesses. And adding a third, that these will be subject to clarification of regulations as noted by the Planning Commission by the city attorney.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Martin, would you like to make a motion that's subject to the clarifications?
I'd like to make a motion that PZTA 19-0001 be approved after consideration of the comments made. It's clarified, after clarification of the comments made.
Okay. And feedback from the legal department?
Yes, and feedback from the legal department and
Okay. So I have a
any
motion.
departments as appropriate.
Question, would that mean we would bring this back to us after comments from legal, or would that be legal would sign off on it and then we would have its approval, we would approve automatically?
Yeah, basically what the planning department is asking is that you give favorable consideration and allow us to have a conversation with the city attorney, make amendments as necessary to the document before it goes to council.
Again, will we have an opportunity to see?
You would
that?
not then.
No.
Okay.
You would basically be giving us a favorable recommendation this evening, subject to us getting with the city attorney,
Okay.
discussing the items in question, and then moving forward to the council with whatever revisions that entails.
Okay.
Mr.
Question,
Martin?
if the city attorney accepts some of the clarification spots and rejects others, do we know that it has not changed substantially what it is? If we don't see it again, we don't know that it's met the approval that we were looking for. It doesn't have contain the language and stuff that we were looking for. So I kind of see that as a broad stroke approval without without knowledge of the final product.
Understood. And if the planning commission is not comfortable with that, then you can make a recommendation that we postpone this to a date certain, subject to response from the city attorney, and we can bring it back to you in July.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Martin?
was PZTA 19-0001 approved?
No, no. No, we haven't taken a vote yet.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion out, it has not been seconded. So if you want to make a new motion, you can.
Or you can ask for a second and see if we...
If I may, through the chair, so a motion was made? Was the motion seconded?
No.
No,
It was not.
It was not
Okay.
seconded.
So technically,
To the chair?
there's no motion on the table then, technically,
No,
because there's no
no.
second.
No.
There's no motion.
We start talking before you do start.
Yeah.
Jeff said what
I'm sorry?
you said what I was going to say. There's no motion on the table.
Right. Okay, so we have a new motion. Commissioner Martin?
I'd like to make a motion that zoning ordinance text amendment to amend Title 5 zoning and planning, Chapter 45, zoning of the Code of the City of Southfield to sexually oriented businesses, PZTA 19-0001, be postponed to a date certain or uncertain?
Certain.
To a date certain.
And that
And if I may, through the chair, if that would be the next meeting, then that would be July 31st.
Postponed to a date certain, July 31st.
And the reason being?
Reason for review of the corrections and modifications made based on the comments that were provided today.
Okay, we can take a roll call vote if you like.
We need a second.
You need a second before.
Need a second, I would
Okay,
second that.
Do we have a...
Okay.
Okay, seconded by Commissioner Willis. It's moved forward by Commissioner Martin to a date certain, which was July 31st, postponement.
You did mention a roll call vote?
Roll call, or would you like to have a roll call vote? Let's do a roll call vote.
Okay, so yay would mean that you are for the postponement. Nay would be that you are against.
Commissioner Martin?
No, fine.
He's going to call the roll.
Oh,
Mr. Culpepper,
Nay.
Mr. Griffiths,
Yay.
Mr. Huntington,
nay.
Mr. Martin,
Yay.
Ms. Mia,
Yay?
Mr. Willis.
Yay.
And the yeas have it, 4-2. So this item is postponed to the July agenda, and it will be subject to a response from our city attorney on the various questions that were brought up by the commission.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next on the agenda, we have approval of the minutes.
I would move for approval of minutes dated April 3, April 10, and April 24.
If I may through the chair.
You want to approve one at a time?
May 15th
May 15th.
and May 22nd.
You changed your page.
Okay, I'm sorry. I put this. Please forgive me. I move for approval of minutes dated May 15, 2019, and May 22nd, 2019.
Okay, we have a motion and seconded by.
Oh, Chair, to the
Okay,
chair.
Mr. Martin?
I'd like to make an amendment to his motion,
Okay.
and that as approval of the minutes with the corrections noted,
Okay.
and probably provided to the planning department, previously provided to the planning department.
Okay.
Okay.
To the chair.
Okay. Commissioner Culpepper.
As we said before, when a motion is on the floor, we make the motion and you vote on it, and then after you approve it or disapprove it, then that's when discussion come in. It shouldn't come in before. We were told this before, and we had the same issue with the city council. You make a motion, the motion gets seconded, and then gets approved, and then the conversation is, the stuff starts. Correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff.
Yeah, if I may,
gotta be a minute.
once an emotion is made, one second, you don't have to have a vote right away. Discussion can happen after a second. You don't have to take a vote right away. There can be discussion, and then after that discussion, then a vote can happen. Once a vote has happened, basically you're done unless someone decides to amend that or rescind that motion.
Right. Okay.
Okay, I'm getting mixed, okay.
Okay.
I'm getting mixed question on Robert's rules then. That's
Okay,
not
so are we ready to vote?
No, you didn't get a second on the amendment.
Okay. Okay, do I have a
Is
second?
that- Do you accept it?
That's Commissioner Willis.
what- You second it.
Yeah, Martin.
Willis made the motion,
made the
and you
motion.
seconded
Mark
with,
seconded
you seconded
with
with the
With
correction.
corrections.
Right,
So,
right.
so you didn't get, so you seconded it. Come on, stay
Okay,
focused.
so we do have it was moved by Commissioner Willis, seconded by Commissioner Martin. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so the minutes will stand with the changes noted.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. And I do have those amendments. Mr. Martin did send them to me.
Okay.
From miscellaneous, your next meeting will be July 10th. So you do get a couple of weeks off. It's going to be a very heavy agenda. As you noted earlier, there were a lot of things that got postponed. Plus, we have at least 4 more items to add to that list as well. And now with the text amendment as well being added. So it'll be a very busy July for you, and probably a busy August as well. So the summer's looking like we'll have a lot of things going on. So again, next meeting is July 10th.
Okay, anything else? Meeting is adjourned.